I looked at the impact of education and what exactly education is. The impact of education and what exactly education is. So last week I came to the conclusion that not everybody is going to go to school, and one of the reasons is because not everybody can afford education. Another reason is because not everyone is going to thrive in an academic environment. And I also gave you some examples of a lot of successful people in our world today who did not go to school. Some went to school, some did not even go to school at all, like Thomas Edison, Henry Ford, for instance, who was homeschooled by his parents. In fact, he learnt mechanic working from his parents, who were also mechanics, and that was one of the things that led to the company that he built, Ford. Some people went to school but did not finish university. I used Don Jazzy as an example. The current richest woman in Africa, Alakija Folorunso, she did not finish university. So, moving away from that, all through the week, I was thinking of what to discuss today, and it's dawned on me that our generation is so lucky, yet we are not taking advantage of this luck that we have. What do I mean? If I was alive, if I was given the opportunity to choose between being alive now, 2025, and being alive probably year 1725, I most likely would choose 2025. The reason is because there are a lot of things working in our world today that were not available back then. I'm not sure there were cars like we see them now in year 1725. There were obviously no social media platforms. In fact, this live stream I'm having, I could not do this 1725. So everybody would rather choose this dispensation to be alive. But I've studied a bit of history, and I've seen that there are a lot of habits, there are a lot of characters that we in this dispensation need to learn from those guys. The reason is because they knew they were not privileged in a sense, even though at that point in time they might not have known that there was a future coming that was better. I mean, this future. But those guys knew that they were not able to do many things. And so the little opportunities they had to engage, the little that they could engage, they were passionate about it. They were passionate about it. And so what I'm saying in essence, or what I'll be saying in essence in this live stream, is just to let you know that there is so much knowledge in our generation. People are still highly ignorant in this same generation. People are still highly ignorant in this same generation. Since I'm in Nigeria, and I'll use Nigeria as an example, it is absurd that the average Nigerian teenager or the average Nigerian youth in 2025 does not know current affairs. It's absurd. Last week, one of the things I mentioned was that indigenous education, which is our own education before Western education came to Nigeria, indigenous education helped us achieve three major things. The first one was it gave us practical knowledge of things, how to work with your hands, things like crafting, pottery. I believe those were the things that were reigning back then. So indigenous education brought, number one, practical knowledge. Number two, which is very important, was cultural heritage. Those who lived in the past, they were more knowledgeable about their heritage. But today, the average young person in Nigeria does not know about Nigeria. If not for civics education, many of us will not even know who colonized Nigeria. We'll not even know when Nigeria gained the independence. We'll just have joined in the October 1 celebration of independence. But we won't even really know the kind of efforts certain people put into ensuring Nigeria gained independence. Mention Biafra War to the average teenager, someone in SS2. The person will be surprised too. The person will be surprised. In fact, it can sound like a French word, Biafra. It can sound like a French or Igbo word to the average teenager. One of the reasons is because knowledge is not being sought after in this generation. It isn't. There is so much knowledge at our disposal. In fact, I was just thinking for some time yesterday. In fact, I was just thinking for some time yesterday. I can be watching what is happening live in Germany at the moment. But with this kind of access to information, you will think people would know more. The truth is that people know less because the price for knowledge is not being paid again. It looks like the price for knowledge these days is just data. That seems like the price for knowledge. And because it's that cheap in a sense, many people don't appreciate that knowledge. And in fact, many people are not using that knowledge well. They are not using that access to gain information that can actually profit them. That's the unfortunate thing. It's the unfortunate thing. It's the unfortunate thing. You know, the older generation, they fought for these things we are enjoying now. I was reading about Nelson Mandela earlier this morning, and I was surprised because this man actually he went through a lot. What he fought for is what some of us have access to that we are taking for granted. Nelson Mandela is a South African, or he was a South African before he died a couple of years ago. But do you realize that when he was in South Africa, I think that was maybe from 1920 something to like 2000 and something. When he was in South Africa, there were a lot of apartheid policies. The black South Africans were being maltreated. In fact, there were policies established to limit the progress of black South Africans. And so I was thinking probably it was because they were the minority, like the black South Africans were the minority, and then the white ones were now the major, they were the major population. But when I checked, I noticed that when Mandela was alive, 67% of South Africans were even black. And that got me thinking. It got me thinking because I was wondering what was going on in the mind of this man, that people at the top are trying to get rid of the majority by creating apartheid policies. One of these policies was that a black South African could not, gain admission to certain universities in South Africa. And that was one of the things he had to work against. He later got to the university by struggling. When he got there, he was expelled from university. The reason he was expelled was because of these same policies put in place to bring black people down. But those of us in this part of the world or in this time of the world when things are just going on smoothly, it looks like we don't pay to get things. We are taking those things for granted. That's what I'm saying. Check it. If you're in school, the people in your class who are from non-privileged homes, homes where they don't really have money, they are usually the serious students in class. But look at the rich kids, the rich ones, they're usually the unserious ones. I was talking to a friend of mine in a particular school, and it was a private university, by the way, and she was She was ranting. She was ranting in my DM. She was telling me that she has a particular friend who wants to take her to South Africa on vacation, but she doesn't feel like going. She said the person said he will sponsor her trip, he will sponsor everything. When I just told her that the two of you are not serious. The reason you are not serious is because you are not even thinking clearly. The reason you are not thinking clearly is because you are from privileged homes. And thinking clearly is because you are from privileged homes. And it is the underprivileged that take life more seriously. That's what I'm saying. Those who live to fight are those that will take life seriously. But those who are just going to school for the culture, or going to school just because their parents say they should go to school, not because they need their certificates to survive, those guys most usually don't take academics seriously. So what exactly am I saying? I'm saying that we are too ignorant as a generation. There is so much knowledge we are exposed to. There is so much information at our disposal for us to know as little as we know. Less people are committed to learning more. Even check it in universities, in secondary schools. Less people are using access to information for their profit. The larger percentage of students are not using their phones to help them academically. That's what I'm saying. When I wrote JAMB exam, I think 5 years ago. If I write JAMB today, I'm sure I will pass more than I passed then. And I got a really high score in JAMB when I wrote JAMB. The reason I'm sure I can pass very well is because now I've seen the advent of artificial intelligence, that I can type out a question, type the options, and type out a question, type the options as it is in a past question book, and AI will give me the answer. AI will not just give me the answer, AI will give me, and so I have better chances of knowing more. But check the JAMB scores of this year. In fact, it was taken on news that more than 75% of people who wrote JAMB, they got less than 200. JAMB is over 400. 200 is the average score. So imagine more than 75% of candidates getting less than 200%. This is probably the worst JAMB statistics that we've had so far. But guess what? More than 75% of those guys that got less than 200 in JAMB, those guys have digital. 75% of those guys that got less than 200 in JAMB, those guys have digital devices. Now the question is, what are they using those digital devices for? And that's the issue. That's the issue I'm addressing. The fact that we have access to things that can help us become better. We have access to things that can inform us better. We have access to things that can profit us better. But we're using that same access for the wrong things. For the wrong things. We are. The older generations, they fought for these things that we are enjoying. Because we were not a part of the struggle, we are trivializing them. And that's a big issue. It's a big issue. I like to tell myself that one of the reasons why Albert Einstein was lucky. I like to tell myself that one of the reasons why Albert Einstein was lucky. Well, it's dicey, but it's a personal conviction. One of the reasons why I was lucky to be alive when he was alive was that he had less distractions. Because he had less distractions, he could focus on his work more. But do you know the flip side to it. If he was in this generation as well, he will have higher access to information, and it will even help him do more than he did. But without limited life was in his time, see how much he did. The disadvantaged people, they are taking life more seriously than the advantaged ones. And it's unfortunate. We came into a life of ease. That is why we are not even pressing for anything again. That's why you will see students to read. Enter random libraries, you would see information. As vast as anything. But ask people things, they don't know anything. Many people don't know anything. They don't know anything. I've said it already. Ask the random teenager, someone who is 14 years old, 15 years old, in fact 19 years old, ask him about Biafra. He doesn't know. Biafra won in Nigeria. He does not know. Ask him what happened World War I. Which countries were responsible? World War II. Which countries were responsible? Current affairs. Things as fickle as this. People don't have answers to them. Yet we are carrying phones up and down. It's scary how much information a man has access to in this generation. It's scary. It's scary how much information a random teenager has access to in this generation. It's scary. It's obvious that those things that they are enjoying, they are not being wise about them. They're not being wise about them. The same principle is evident in the Christian faith. We have probably thousands of biblical translations. How many Christians are reading their Bible? How many are reading their Bible? With how liberal Nigeria is about the Christian faith, we still have less Christians in Nigeria than in China. And that is something to think about. China is a country where, although they have a very large population, but it's a country where the Christian faith is not a publicly approved faith. And so those who are Christians in China are doing it at a risk. In Nigeria, we have the liberty of doing evangelism, street evangelism. Nobody will stop you. You have the liberty of building churches almost anywhere. Nobody will stop you. You have the liberty of building churches almost anywhere. Nobody will stop you. You have the liberty of building mosques almost anywhere. Nobody will stop you. But go to countries like Uzbekistan, countries like Pakistan. Let's just use China as an example. Go to China. You would rarely see, but maybe not really, but you won't see as many church buildings as we have in our world today. But guess what? The Christians there are more diligent than the Christians in Nigeria. These guys meet in houses and they meet underground, because what they are doing is not approved by the government. I heard of a Christian missionary who traveled to some Asian countries, and when he came back, he said that he was burdened because he has seen how much liberal Christians are. Christians in Nigeria. Now that someone has the privilege of carrying his Bible anywhere he goes to, but he's not reading that Bible. He's not even carrying that Bible. He has a phone that he can download as many translations of Bible as he wants and read it. He's not downloading Bible, he's not reading it. But places where they don't have this privilege, places where they don't have these privileges that we are enjoying freely, those guys are more committed to learning than we. And it's something we should think about. It's something we should think about. A good question to ask is that, did technology replace our quest for learning? Did it replace our discipline for learning? Is it because of your phone you are now knowing less about profitable things? That same phone that can give you access to profitable things. We have people who learned forex trading not by attending physical schools, just by attending virtual schools. Some just stuffed themselves with, tutorial videos, probably on YouTube or other social media platforms. Those are good ways to use devices. The information at their disposal, they are taking advantage of it. They are taking advantage of it. They are taking advantage of it. And so if you know any student who is not doing well in school, challenge that student. Challenge that student, because that student has less reasons to fail. It does. It does. I just finished from university. It does. It does. I just finished from university. When I was in university, there were a lot of things we were taught in class that we did not understand. We did not understand them. But guess what? We had access to internet. And so we'll go on YouTube and watch videos, tutorial videos, to learn what we were taught in class. And so those who did well academically, they were not those who were even paying attention in class. We paid attention in class, we did not understand. That's what I'm saying. After all the paying attention in class, we did not still understand. We still went online to check for videos, get materials, to learn what we were being taught. And it helped us. And it helped us. And so, what am I saying? I'm saying the same thing. Information is greatly at your disposal. Information is greatly at our disposal. Let us take advantage of it. Let us take advantage of it. We need to take advantage of it. We do. We do. I remember this particular day that I was trying to convince a friend of mine to do something. But the reason we had confidence to do it was because we had our phones with us and we just checked how to do so and so thing. We got it. That is how privileged we are. We are too privileged to know the little that we know. That's what I'm saying. Nobody has a right. Nobody has a right. That's what I'm saying. Nobody has a right. Nobody has a right to be ignorant in this generation. Nobody. No one has a right to be ignorant in this generation. No one. We have so much knowledge at our disposal. We have so much information at our becks and calls. In fact, the advent of AI has even made the world a scary place. You can almost know anything you want to know. When I was working on my project in school, I had a supervisor, but I can tell you that 80% of my work, it wasn't my supervisor that gave me instruction. It was ChatGPT. How do I standardize this? How do I do this thing? ChatGPT gave me the answer. There were some things I even did. My supervisor was surprised I knew how to do it. But she knew I knew how to do it. She knew I checked AI. She knew how to do it. She knew I checked AI. She knew. So what am I saying? The information at your disposal, the access at your disposal, take advantage of it. There was a time people did not have phones to make calls. There was a time people did not have phones to browse. Yes, they lived good lives. They did. There was a time people could not have a life, lived good lives. Probably they were, I won't say they were advantaged, but I'll say that they probably had less distractions. Do you even realize that because of this access to information that we have, a lot of us are distracted more? This TikTok you opened to stream me. Do you realize that as soon as you opened it, you saw a video that popped up? And if you were not passionate enough to join this live stream, you most likely will have scrolled to the next video. And before you know what's happening, you'll keep scrolling. And guess what? Videos don't stop. You can never scroll to the point where TikTok will say, all right, that's the end of, you've watched all our videos. It's not possible. It isn't. So there are a lot of things to use phones for. And if you are not wise about it, you will use phones only for the non-profitable things. Now, when I mean non-profitable things, I'm talking of things that cannot make you a better person. Things that can't make you a better person. There are a couple of people who tell me to buy data for them. I've learned already from experience and wisdom that before I buy data for you, you will summarize how you used your past data that finished. Check the data usage. Before I buy data for you, you will summarize how you used your past data that finished. Check the data usage of many people. They are using it for things that don't make sense. Why should a secondary school student spend 400 megabytes on TikTok in one day and is in school? The question to ask is, did you take your phone to school? Or when you came back, was it your phone you pressed all through the night? That's the question to ask. Because you will explain how you use so much data to do things that don't profit you. And they are wondering why you're not doing well. You know, I read of William Tyndale, one of the theologians who was persecuted for translating the Bible to English. You know, I read about some of the sacrifices a couple of people had undergone just to give us access to knowledge. And I'm seeing how people are responding to the works of their sacrifices or the results of their sacrifices. We are not even being just. We are not being just. If as a Christian, you are not valuing scriptures that you have access to, that you have easy access to, you are not serious. For the past 6 days, I've been on a daily routine with some of my friends, and we've been reading one letter in the Bible first thing in the morning. So when you wake up first thing in the morning, you read maybe First Peter, you read maybe First John. Just read one book at once. It has been a big struggle for some of us. Do you know why? The reason is because we are not paying attention to the knowledge that matters, and this is where I will end. we are not paying much attention to the knowledge that matters. It's very easy for you to wake up in the morning, pick up your phone, and start scrolling through Instagram. It's very easy. But it's very difficult to wake up early in the morning and read your school book. Not even your Bible. Read your school book. It's very difficult. Do you know why? The reason is because we are not paying attention to the knowledge that matters. And until our orientation changes as a people, until we begin to see access as a gift, until we begin to see that we have no right to be ignorant as a generation, until we begin to see these things, we are going to see less to be ignorant as a generation. Until we begin to see these things, we are going to see less progress in our lives. And unfortunately, the coming generations will be worse than us. They will know less than us. They will know less than us. Growing up, I had stories of, even though I personally didn't experience it myself, but I had stories of parents and grandparents educating the younger ones on their culture, heritage, what has happened in Nigeria, what has happened in your village. We don't have those things again. It looks like technology has even replaced the time we are supposed to be spending with our parents. It has replaced the time we're supposed to be spending with our friends. And it's not because it is bad, it is because people are using it for the wrong things. It's a gift. Access to knowledge is a gift. Access to information is a gift. Access to knowledge is a gift. Access to information is a gift. But if you don't see it as a gift, if you see it as a reason to flex, you won't have a good life at the end of the day. You won't. So what exactly am I saying, guys? Whatever it is you are doing, there is more knowledge about that thing. Whatever it is you intend to start doing, there is much access to knowledge about that thing. And so don't just see technology as a means of enjoyment. See it as an opportunity to get better as a person. See it as an opportunity to get better as a person. We are more bothered about things that don't matter, things that don't count. I was speaking to some teenagers one day, and then I told them that I had a newspaper application on my phone. They looked at me like I was strange. They looked at me like I was strange. Do you realize one of the disciplines you can put yourself through as an individual is to get physical materials? It's a discipline I put myself through. If I'm reading the newspaper, if I'm reading something physical, I have less chances of being distracted than if I'm using my phone. I can be scrolling TikTok and I'll get distracted by a WhatsApp message. Different social media accounts, different social media. And I'm being distracted from one to join another. So guys, take advantage of these things. We have so much access, so much access to knowledge, so much access to information. Let's make good use of these things. Let's make good use of these things. There was a time when people did not have the opportunity to know as much as we have the opportunity to know. But these guys took their lives seriously. Probably it was because they needed discipline to get the little that they had. Probably that was why they had better lives in quotes, or probably that was why they did bigger things in quotes. Probably. So I'll end with this. Seek the knowledge that counts. Seek the knowledge that will make you a better person. Seek that kind of knowledge. Thank you for sending me a cap, Mr. Alex. Seek that kind of knowledge. Seek it. There's a particular discipline I put myself through. I'll pick up a book and I'll read 1 hour straight every day. And this book is not even a spiritual book, it's not a religious book, it's not even a motivational one. It's just novels about writers who wrote about history, about Nigerian history. Because I'm growing older, I must know things. I was at a particular because I'm growing older, I must know things. I was at a particular competition in UI one day. It was organized for secondary schools. And during the course of the competition, there was a mini competition organized for the viewers or the audience. And they were asking general studies, just general questions. The person that won was an adult. The reason he won was because of current affairs. It was current affairs questions that we, the younger people, did not have answers to. But the funny thing, this man that won that competition, it was not with technology he knew those answers. That means when he was growing up, technology was not as vast as it is today. So he had more chances of learning things undisturbed. And that's one of our major problems. We are trying to learn in a noisy environment. That's our problem. That's the major problem with students. They are trying to prepare for exams in a noisy environment. This noisy environment is not where people are shouting. It is this social media. Your materials are on your phone. So you are always on your phone. Even when you try to read, you are still being disturbed by notifications. If you are not careful, you would go for those less knowledge and live a less life. You'd go for the less knowledge and live a less life. But take it upon yourself to get physical materials. Discipline yourself. Discipline yourself. Discipline yourself. That is the only way what you are doing will count. That is the only way. That's the only way. You want to be a content creator? Don't just watch people's content. There are content creators whose content is helping content creators. I don't know if you get what I said. Is helping content creators. I don't know if you get what I said. I said if you want to be a content creator, don't just watch other people's content. Don't just create content. Watch content of content creators that are teaching you how to be content creators. I just figured that very recently. That there are people on TikTok whose content is just how to create content. How to gain followership, how to verify your account. Every question, that's what I'm saying. Simple things. Ask AI a very fickle question, it will give you an answer. But look at how many answers in the lives of people are being, look at how many questions in the lives of people are being answered. I mean, reasonable questions. How to do this particular thing. Look at how little many people, how do I put this in? Look at how inefficient many people are. You'll be surprised. You'll be surprised that you've had a phone for the past 17 years of your life, a phone that can browse, and you still don't know how to do this particular thing, and you've still not even bothered to learn it. And it's not as if you pay to learn, it's just search to learn. That's how easy knowledge is these days. It's no more really about paying to learn, it's just about searching to learn. Searching to learn. Searching to learn. So I guess with these few points of mine, I've been able to drive home the focus that we have a lot of information at our disposal, but we are using this access for less important things. It's not a good thing. I'm scared of the coming generation, but I'm also hopeful that they will not repeat the mistakes some of us have made, that they would use this access to knowledge for better things. So thank you to everyone that joined my live stream. So you'd see me next Saturday, same time, 3 to 4 p.m. And please share the broadcast and invite your friends. So I forgot to rename the live session. So basically, let me start from what Urge Africa is about. Urge Africa is a thank you. Urge Africa is a network. Urge Life Manifest is a very good opportunity for people like me and you to, have a platform to impart other people. It can be in forms of motivation, like I'm doing. It can be in forms of learning skills. I made mention of the fact that you can use this access to knowledge that we have to get better as people. So if you're a content creator, or if you're a makeup artist, if you're a dancer, you can come live and show people how to do these things. As a dancer, you can teach people how to dance. As a makeup artist, you can teach people how to do basic makeuping, if that's the word to use. And this is not just a random thing, it's well organized, and we get paid every month to do this. So every month you come up 4 times in a month for at least 1 hour every week, and you get to choose what you do, you get to choose how you do it, but the main point is to ensure that the content you are creating is tangible enough for the community, because basically that is tangible enough for the community, because basically that is what Urge Africa is about. It's about networking and leveraging on each other's strengths. So I think with these points of mine, I can call it a quit. So thank you once again to everyone that joined, and see you next week Saturday, same time, same channel. Thank you very much.